Welcome back to the Tracie Trendy Show. I welcome I welcome you all, old and new subscribers, welcome. Sit back and sip some tea with me. This is some interesting tea. It involves Scott Bradshaw. Scott is hooked up with Lindsay on Love After Lockup. Now, you're going to have to sit back because I'm going to have to weave this story, all right? Because there's a lot. And I'm going to show you how I connect these dots because there's some disturbing stuff I found out about Scott Bradshaw. All right? Now, Scott and Lindsay's bio from Love After Lockup reads like this. It reads, a 51-year-old entrepreneur uproots his New York life for 27-year-old Mississippi belle, Lindsay, who landed in jail for drugs and firearms. Though they never met in person, Scott has been supporting Lindsay and She's an honor student, cheerleader. Anyway, he plans to move Lindsay and her daughter into the dream home by renovating it to her specifications. Okay? All right. Entrepreneur, New York, 51 years old. Just like, when I watch these reality shows, I take it with a grain of salt. Half the stuff they claim, I'm rich. Okay, right. I really have to see the receipts on that one. But anyway, I typically think that most of the men on these shows that when they date younger are tapping into their 401k. That's where my mind goes. You're tapping into that 401k. And you're an entrepreneur. Why aren't you working? And it didn't surprise me that Lindsay broke open into his office and discovered that the house is a rental and all this. Even though we saw Scott invite a decorator. She's not going to be renovating the house. She's just going to be moving around some furniture, adding things. She's a decorator. She's not an interior designer where they're doing some construction. She's just a decorator. So I wasn't surprised that he was renting it. I wasn't surprised that he was in debt. He has some bankruptcies or some issues. So I know all these people who claim to be fronting, a lot of these people on Instagram and all that stuff, I give them the side eye, okay? I don't believe a lot that, a lot of these celebrities or anything, even reality celebrities, I even think less, that they got less money than they do. So if I think celebrities have less, you darn sure I'm going to think people like Scott have less. So anyway, a simple Google search on Scott's name revealed that, you know what? Lindsay's not the only one that almost could have been a felon. Okay? So, Lindsay's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But you know what? A broken clock is right twice in a day. And what I have discovered about Scott, all these S names are just riding together, was that he, before he was an entrepreneur, was a social worker. And he was a social worker in New York. Okay? Now, he's come from a particular, it's probably some upstate New York small town where they hardly pay their social workers any money. It's not New York City. Anyway, he struck up, I'm going to read this correct now because this is some alarming stuff. A Saratoga County caseworker, that's a social worker, has resigned and been arrested. Okay, this is Scott. Because over allegations that he attempted to strike up an inappropriate relationship with a client. And that's what the Saratoga Sheriff Office reports. Now, a client means, in this case, a woman whose, child has been taken away. She's probably trying to get her kids back or at least get some visitations or something. A lot of time, I have a lot of friends who are social workers. So a lot of that they try to do is family reunification. So when a social worker comes in, their main job is to try to reunify the family, if at all possible. Now, we know through Lindsay that Scott entertains a lot of prostitutes, which is what he wants to do is fine. That's consensual. But it doesn't seem like this was consensual between the client. It seems like he might have said, well, probably held that over her head. You know, you want to see your kids? You want your kids back in your life? You know, maybe you want to date me. Maybe you want to date me. Oh, this house, you know, is not up to par. It's going to take you about 6 months to a year for it to get up to code. Maybe you want to date me. So apparently this client of Scott, okay, this is a woman who's trying to get her kids back. That tends to be the case, because otherwise you're not dealing with social workers if you don't want to get reunited with your kids or see your kids or something. You're like, later, toss them, leave them in the system, whatever. This lady's very vulnerable, and she needs Scott to, you know, write a good report so she can get her kids back, or at least visitation or something. But apparently the client was saying, this woman, he was propositioning her to have a relationship. That is against the rules. That is against the rules. So let me read on the report. So he serves as a county worker for Child Protection Services, and he was charged Tuesday with 1 count of official misconduct, a misdemeanor, and subsequently resigned. And Bradshaw is accused of trying to start a personal relationship with this woman, and that conduct is not allowed. So in the process of pursuing this relationship, so while he was trying to pursue this relationship with this woman, Scott did commit an unauthorized act of his official functions. I don't know what that means. If it was consensual, I don't think she would be reporting him. So I don't think she wanted to date him. Maybe he wanted to date her, but I don't think it was consensual on the other end, because he committed an unauthorized act of his official functions. This is according to the sheriff's office. Now, the Department of Social Services found out about the attempts indirectly by this woman. And that's according to the Sheriff Jeff Brown. So he turned the information over to the sheriff's office. And the sheriff's office investigated further, and they charged Scott Bradshaw. And the woman is cooperating with authorities. And Brown, this is the detective, said he did not know how long Scott worked for the county or how his supervision was supposed to be and what he was supposed to be doing for this woman. And he didn't know how many female clients. Well, it doesn't say female clients. Let me get it right. Brown said that he didn't know how long Bradshaw had worked for the county or the nature of his supervision that he was supposed to be providing for this woman. Brown also did not know how many clients were assigned to Bradshaw, but said no other allegations have been made against Scott Bradshaw. So, that is the extent of it. That is the extent of it. So, basically, I think he was trying to corner this woman. He knew this was a vulnerable person. He has some power as a social worker. And he's dangling this carrot, which is family reunification or maybe some time with the kids. And this lady wasn't biting. And you got to wonder, how long was he the social worker? Was this the first time he did such a thing? You know, but no one else came up further doesn't mean it didn't happen. You know, maybe it did work for somebody, maybe it didn't. I'm just thinking, I don't know. Allegedly. Perhaps somebody says, well, I got my kid back, so I can't, say anything. Or maybe this woman's like, I'm not going down that road with you. And so she kind of gathered her evidence and went to the police department. And Scott resigned. And right now he's probably just dipping out of his 401k, which is a little bit of money that he did sock away. And it kind of makes you wonder, why would he go after someone like Lindsay? Lindsay is another vulnerable person. She wants her to be reunified with her daughter. So she wants a nice home set up. Scott said, I'm rich. I can get your house. He rents a house. He put something together for her. But, Lindsay has to keep her nose clean. Lindsay, it doesn't seem possible. But, in Scott's mind, he probably thought Lindsay he would be able to control Lindsay. You want just home life. I can provide that for you. As long as you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. Now, you wonder, okay, how do I know this is the Scott Bradshaw? Because Bradshaw could be very, common name. Now, Scott mentioned on the show that his son died. Looked up, yep, his son died, and his son's name is Connor S. Bradshaw. And in the obituary, it mentions, Scott's name. And they're all from the Boston Spa area. That's the area that this guy was arraigned from, Boston Spa. And he was born in Saratoga Springs, just where this guy was arrested. This other Scott Bradshaw was arrested. And Scott left his New York the same time that he was arrested 5 years ago. Plus the similarities, not only do we have the same city, which is quite rare that you have Scott Bradshaws that are the same name, the same age, same place. And now he doesn't have, he's not a social worker anymore. He's just an entrepreneur. And I told you in another video, when Scott was talking to the photographer, Lindsay's photographer, I said a scammer knows a scammer. A skis knows a skis. Okay? If you're grimy, you're pervy, you know all the perv tricks. So that's why Scott was a little suspect of the photographer. Because he knew. Scott knows the game. So unfortunately, I think I got the right person here. You do your research. I'm going to put some things on there. Okay, look. You see the Saratoga Springs. Let me make sure. I don't want to... yes, Saratoga Springs. This is where Scott's son, is from. This is where this Scott Bradshaw was arrested. And it also lists, the article I have, lists the same address. Okay? So the address, the street. Boston Spa is the street that's listed on Connor's obituary. And in the article, it said that this Scott Bradshaw lives on Boston Spa Street. So I think I got the right address. Now sip on that tea. Okay, my people. If you like what you hear, don't hesitate to hit the subscribe button. Definitely hit the notification bell. And drop me a line. Let's chat about this. Okay? All right, my people. I'll see you next time. All right? Later, lovelies.